Have you ever heard the phrase, just following orders? It's a line we hear a lot, often used to justify actions that feel, well, wrong. But what if I told you there's a fundamental principle in law that completely shatters that excuse? Let's start with a powerful statement from a U.S. court case, Brookfield Construction versus Stewart. It says, "An officer who acts in violation of the Constitution ceases to represent the government." Let that sink in for a second. The moment an official, any official, from a police officer to a high-ranking politician, violates the Constitution, they are no longer acting as a representative of the government. They're acting on their own, as an individual. Their authority, their badge, their title, it becomes void in that moment. They are no longer shielded by the office they hold. This isn't a new or radical idea. The concept of tyranny and the abuse of power is as old as civilization itself. The ancient Greek philosopher Aristotle described it perfectly thousands of years ago. He painted a chilling picture of a tyrant, someone who, to cling to power, suppresses anyone who stands out, gets rid of good people, and forbids education because an informed public is a threat. Aristotle said this tyrant controls every movement of the citizens, keeping them in a state of perpetual servitude. He wants them to get used to being fearful and quiet. He uses spies to listen in on conversations and actively spreads division and lies to keep people fighting amongst themselves. And if all else fails, he starts a war, just to keep everyone occupied and constantly feeling like they need him to lead them. Sound familiar? It's a timeless playbook for control, and this is where the law draws a very, very hard line. There are ancient legal maxims, principles so foundational they're like the bedrock of our justice system. One of them is ex dolo malo non oritur actio. It's Latin, but it means, out of fraud, no action arises. Simply put, you can't build a legal case or a legitimate action on a foundation of fraud. If the starting point is a lie, everything that follows is tainted and illegitimate. And the law is crystal clear about what happens when someone tries to cover up that lie. Any act by any government official to conceal a fraud is in itself an act of fraud. There's another maxim for that. Fraus est celare fraudem. It is a fraud to conceal a fraud. You can't hide a crime with another crime and expect to get away with it. This is where it gets really powerful. The law sees fraud as inexcusable and unpardonable. It's not something you can just apologize for and move on. It unravels everything. The final nail in the coffin is this principle. Fraus et dolus nemini patrocinari debent. Fraud and deceit should excuse no man. No man. No woman. No one gets a pass. It doesn't matter what your title is, how much power you think you have, or if you were just following orders. When an action is rooted in fraud or violates the fundamental law of the land, the person committing that act stands alone.